Joining us now to review the headlines of today's paper from around the world, action, ladies and gentlemen, is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efeni, greatest Malabite of the greatest Gbagba. And also joining us for the rest of the show this Friday is Sake Kayode Akitemi.
Good morning, Rufa.
Bless you, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Efeni.
Good morning, Kayode
Sake
Akintemi, the man with the silver hair.
Yes, sir.
Silver hair.
Now we'll start the review with this day, Nigeria's newspaper of record. I will start from the window story. Oil marketers to federal government. Are businesses collapsing due to foreign exchange depreciation, bad roads, one product's import pegged at 600 naira to the dollar for 3 months, say deteriorating infrastructure will negatively impact 100 billion naira CNG project. Yes, those petroleum marketers, they've been having a tough time. In fact, a number of filling stations are closed because they cannot get these products. They cannot afford, not that the products are not available. And right now, the landing cost of petroleum product is put at 700 naira per liter. And now, petrol still serve the threshold of not above 617 naira across the country. And this is the problem. Who is paying the balance? NNPC still the sole importer of petroleum products, but this long-term, or in fact the short-term solution, because December is just around the corner when we expect the Dangote refinery to start bringing out products, and 2 of the government-owned refineries in Warri and Port Harcourt are expected to start producing. Otherwise, it has been said, heads will roll. And I think that should just be the case if, after spending millions in that maintenance that has been on for some time now, if they cannot produce, then heads will roll, and the government should do the next logical thing. What's the next logical thing? Well, I'm sure that itself will be up for debate. Now, the lead story. Tinubu violated the Grundnorm of Nigeria's electoral laws, says Atiku. Fawemi's soul can now rest in peace, says political relationship with president broke down in 2007. Kalu. There's no question. Certificate with INEC is forged. Your desperation is unbecoming, APC replies. Ex-VP, Labour Party welcomes Atiku's invitation to Obi. Yes, yesterday, presidential candidate of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar, addressed a World Press Conference where he said that what is at stake is Nigeria, the image of Nigeria. And that is the angle from which a number of newspapers are also taking the story. But let's look at how Punch is reporting this story, because the Atiku story is all over the place. Chicago Record. Tinubu betrayed me. I'll fight till Supreme Court verdict. Atiku. Tinubu supported Yar'Adua PDP in 2007 presidential election, says ex-vice president. Atiku's political career has ended. He got nothing from Chicago Varsity APC. Now, let's look at how the Nigerian Tribune newspaper is reporting this story. The story of the day, you will say, Tinubu's CSU certificate saga. Reputation of Nigeria at stake. Atiku says, Fayemi inspired us on this journey. He started 23 years ago. I did not stab Tinubu in the back. Kwankwanso Obi should join me in the campaign to enshrine probity. Whatever Supreme Court says, I will take. Atiku's lawyer were told Tinubu forged certificate presented to INEC. CSU admission application form claims that Tinubu attended Government College Lagos, graduated in 1970, but school was established in 1974. APC to Atiku, CSU validated Tinubu's certificate. Difference in date of certificate, human error. After all, to err is human. According to the APC, replying, stating their own position on the CSU papers, the Chicago papers, if you will. Now, the Daily Sun newspaper, CSU certificate, saga, no retreat, no surrender on Tinubu, say Atiku. Now, the World Press Conference by Atiku yesterday. Well, the facts he tried to put out there is that Tinubu violated the Grundnorm by presenting papers that, according to the Atiku lawyers and what they got from the CSU deposition, that the certificate presented to INEC cannot be authenticated by the CSU, although they stated clearly that Tinubu, the person who is the president of Nigeria now, attended Chicago State University and graduated. Now, perhaps the next question, which Atiku, did not address personally yesterday, is that they will be heading to the Supreme Court and they will present, his lawyer did say present their case, fresh evidence at the Supreme Court. What the Supreme Court will do with this Chicago deposition is left to be seen. The lawyers will have their day, they will present their case, state their claim, and the justices at the Apex Court will rule and put closure to the election case. But because of the facts, observations that have come with these documents, which are they're all there on the internet, the complete paper you can see on arise.tv, the complete papers from the Chicago deposition. And this matter seems to have taken a life of its own. Rufai, Ayo, and Kayode, I'm sure you want to say one or two things on this before we move to other stories.
Okay, so Alhaji Atiku Abubakar made this press conference yesterday, and he paid tribute in that press conference to Gani Fawemi. If we remember, all of this started, and there have been documents circulating now as regards the reportage of Newswatch back in the time where all of this first started, Gani Fawemi. And even when you look at the facts, it's shocking that they're different. So that time, the claim was Government College Ibadan. Mm-hmm. How did all of a sudden we now have Government College Lagos? Too many discrepancy. Then they were talking about Richard Daly College. So if he said he left, what's it called? He was, okay, I think for reference purposes, I'm going to read from Newswatch back in the day. So because I remember I took out that report so I can be able to quote verbatim. Okay. So this was it. A Newswatch report, a dependable source told Newswatch last Wednesday that Tinubu did not and could not have attended any college in America between 1969 and 1971 because he traveled to America for the first time in 1974. He purportedly spent 2 years in 1960, 1971 in Richard Daly College. But if he attended government college or any other secondary school prior to Richard Daly, which could have achieved the 2 years of secondary education. So they also said, despite the pressure mounted on Tinubu, he was supposed to have a press conference. This was, I'm quoting many years back in time. Ago. Now, he said, Gani Fawemi wants the police to investigate Tinubu's claim that he attended Government College Ibadan between 1965 and 1968, and Richard Daly College, Chicago, between 1969 and 1971. All right? And if he did attend any of the colleges and qualifications he used into admission of University of Chicago. So even in all of this opposition back in the day, there was also a case of University of Chicago that it was alleged that he went to first before he now went to Chicago State University.
Well,
So there are a lot of, discrepancies here and there, but as it is now, he made his press conference yesterday.
that's Atiku
Abubakar. They push, obviously they said they will be able to go to the Supreme Court. And he says he believes in the Supreme Court. And nobody's impugning on the Supreme Court.
No, of course, the justices will have to do their
justices
job.
will have to do their job.
So-
But the lawyer, Kalu also said something yesterday. He also talked about one part that people are not even talking about, the NYSC. That there was an Adekunle, on the NYSC. The Adekunle on the NYSC presented, which was a new addition to all of the conversation. Then there was a question also asked that, okay, how about business interest and all of that, Then he said, my Intel's group had not even been doing business. They had collected most of the contract for me before now. Then he also made clarification on the issue of he betrayed Tinubu and all that.
Yeah.
So he said that when he was running then, Tinubu said he wanted to be his running mate. President Tinubu said he wanted to be his running mate. But he said there are even some witnesses here with him.
Yeah.
And he told them that I don't like a Muslim ticket. It doesn't go well. That never. And he's even reiterated it that Nigeria is a multicultural nation. So he's made his own point here at the press conference, paid tribute to Ganifa Wemi and also David Oude, the journalist. And that was about the prayer. It was quite a very short one yesterday. So let's see how all of this pans out. But once all of this gets to court too, our reportage too will have to mellow down because now we don't want to run the risk of being subjudice.
No, we are discussing Chicago papers.
Chicago papers generally.
As they appeared. No, we are not discussing the case in the Supreme Court.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sure you want to weigh in on that.
Oh, okay. Let me just say a few words around that. Yeah. So it was quite a short press conference. And he also had the opportunity to respond to the questions. I believe one of the key parts of that conference was his responses to some of the questions, taking us back to the fact that he and President Tinubu actually enjoyed a cordial relationship. In fact, he said that together they'd come together for ACA and he had run, but on the basis of not wanting to have him as vice presidential candidate, because he didn't support a Muslim ticket, which he said even up until now, that's still his stance, then President Tinubu moved his loyalties to former President Musa Yar'Adua. But away from that, it's just the fact that he said he was doing this on the basis of morality and the fact that Nigerians deserve the truth. And I believe that's something that we have emphasized a number of times here, when people say, what is the point of it? Will it be admitted or not? It is the fact that Nigerians deserve to know the truth. And I want to say that journalists should not be shamed or not be cowed or not be intimidated into telling the truth by sources and forces, because all we're doing is not taking sides. Is simply informing the people, investigating where necessary, and ensuring that people, the Nigerian people who deserve to know the truth, have the truth, in terms of being able to understand and make decisions themselves. Now, they also asked a question with regards to the Supreme Court. And besides, the APC have responded saying that it was an attack on the Supreme Court, he was intimidating the judges. I didn't see anything like that in what he had said. There was nothing like that. And that was what the APC had come out with the statement.
In Atiku's statement,
there was nothing like him. No. He was presenting, and like we mentioned, it was just stating the fact. He didn't allude to cases in the court currently, and in issues or matters where the law, there were questions around the law, he handed over to his lawyer, Kalu, to respond. The main things he responded to were issues around why was he doing this, the relationship between he and President Bola Tinubu, and of course, when would this stop? And that's why, and he said, they asked the question as to when, at the end of the day, and he said, once the Supreme Court rules, whether in his favor or in the favor of President Bola Tinubu, then the matter ends, because the Supreme Court is the highest office, is the highest court, is the last hope of the common man, is the last court. As Dr. Bati often says, if the Supreme Court does not rule in your favor, you take your matter to God. And so it's important to note that he also demonstrated the fact that he was willing to respect the rule of law. The only thing he was asking for was that the rule of law is fair and equitable.
Yes, okay, but just before you come in, let's look at two other papers, how they are reporting this story. The Nation newspaper, APC Atiku Bika over Tinubu's CSU certificate. I am filing fresh evidence at Supreme Court. Ex-VP chasing shadow, says President Chicago lawyer. And of course, above that lead story, you have Atiku's frantic hunt for after discovered evidence. That's an analysis the front page of the Nation newspaper, while the New Telegraph newspaper reporting this story, certificate saga, Nigeria bigger than any individual. Atiku K.
Okay, I've been watching this from the sideline for a bit now, and
now you're right there in the frame,
right in the thick of it,
analyzing the issue.
Yes. What I would always go to is, with regards to this particular matter, what I will always go to is what the Gen Zs will always say: my truth is different from your truth. Let me speak my truth and respect my truth. So the truth of a Gen Z might be different from that.
Truth is constant.
Exactly, my brother.
That's how we're brought up.
Yes,
that's the way we were brought up. But you've heard the story of my truth.
Yes,
Let me speak my truth. So now let's look at it from the perspective of the Gen Z. Let's assume that the president loves young people, and this is a case of
to put
his own
it
truth.
in perspective, so that we don't.
No, we'll put it. I'll come to that point where we'll put it in perspective.
No, the issue of truth.
Yes,
I'll wait on that later.
Okay. Now, the issue of truth. Sometimes the truth that belongs to you or to Rufai or even to Ruben and Emmanuel, they can be different from my truth. But it doesn't change the fact that truth is consistent. What is the truth of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and the truth of the APC? The truth is that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu attended
Chicago State University.
Yes.
Is that true or not? It is true. They did
according
not contend, according to the
yeah.
deposition, it shows that it is true. That he stayed in America during a period of time, it is true. Some of the things that they are saying is true. They are actually quite true. Now, what is the truth of Waziri Adamawa, Waziri Atiku Abubakar? What is his truth? The truth remains that were the documents forged, some people will say no, some people will say yes. But the truth for me remains the fact that when somebody says, this is not the document I issued, then it is not the document that they issued. Do you call it fake? Do you call it forgery? It is down to your choice of word. But call a spade a spade. If somebody gives you a document, and the example I used yesterday, which I will use when we have conversation with the other people that will come on the program, the example I used was simple and it was clear that let's assume, as I am working with Arise today, if the chairman of Arise News, Prince Obagbena, says he has given me a job and I start working here, if I go somewhere else and the document that I present is different, it does not mean I did not work here. But the document that I present that is not the same as what was issued to me, it means I have forged it. So at the end of the day, all of the arguments that we are having, they represent different perspective of the truth. On the one hand, the president attended CSU. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, they didn't say that he did not complete his course. He completed. But they didn't also say that he didn't have a good result. We saw the results that were published. They did not deny that one. They are all A's and B's. But in terms of the certificate itself, I don't know what reason the president can give for allowing a situation where what he presented was not what was given by that university. So that document is not what was given. That's what the deposition said. And I think the certified copy has come out, right? And Rufai, yes. The certified copy has come out. And that certified copy has stated very clearly that this is not what we gave. So let us have a unified position on the truth. The truth of APC, yes, they're true in terms of he attended the university. The truth of Atiku Abubakar is also true, that that document was not presented, was not the one that was issued by CSU. So that means there's forgery. So let's move from there so that we don't continue to live in this issue of, is it true or not? It is true that that document is fake. It is forged. So what do we do? That is what has been said based on the document that you can see, the deposition that is certified. That is not certified.
To rule on
yeah, no, but what courts will need to rule on what an American court, where they have jurisdiction to say, is it true or not? They've got it there.
But the Supreme Court has not ruled. And that's
no, as it affects Nigeria.
And that's why I said, yes, you said what is in the deposition, but when it comes to the court ruling and talking about this matter, we also need to be careful so we don't sound sub judice, because the case has been pushed to court. So the court will rule on it. All we know, like you said, for the fact is, yes, CSU has said that we didn't give the document. So let's just keep it at the
Are we expecting that the decision on whether the document is fake or not will be the decision of the Supreme Court?
That will be tested at the Supreme Court.
That will be tested at the Supreme Court, yeah.
But based on the evidence that is clear.
So you can't preempt. So all you just do is we just wait until them. So we don't sound sub judice. To file,
They have said they will take the documents to the Supreme Court.
But will it be accepted or admitted?
So I mean, that's up to the court.
Admitted. Will it be admitted?
It's up to the court.
Document, that should be the conversation.
Yeah,
please.
It's up to the court. So the court
okay, well, apart from the main issue, because when the legal team of Tinubu, President Tinubu said, if those documents are released, they will cause irreparable harm. And of course, we're wondering. But you know, with that document now, we have seen a number of other things. Government College Lagos.
Government College Ibadan.
Male, female. So other issus have come up.
1970
so
as opposed to 1970.
I don't know whether that was what they were alluding to when we were talking of irreparable harm to their client, in this case, the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But let's just move to other issues. The Guardian newspaper, yes, the Guardian newspaper, and I will just take one story there. Yes, tales of neglect, Lajis, as Nigeria marks World Teachers' Day. Yes, teachers must be celebrated, they should be celebrated, and they should be given their due. Any nation that does not respect, pay due attention to teachers, then that nation will be in trouble. And Nigerian teachers over the years, they've been doing a great job in bringing up generations of Nigerians who have become great men and great women. In 2013, this newspaper, of course, Arise Media Group now, part of Arise is a part of the This Day Arise Media Group. The 18th edition of This Day Awards was dedicated solely to teachers. It was held in Abeokuta, and This Day, usual fashion, brought in Bill Clinton, former president of America, to present awards to Nigerian teachers who have distinguished themselves across the country. It was a big celebration then in Abeokuta, and former President Olusegun Obasanjo, of course, was there to host his friend, President Bill Clinton. So on a day like this, when teachers are being celebrated, we remember all our teachers. I just want to remember one teacher. It's late now. The reason why I'm even Mr. B.B., a literature teacher in Horsey College in those days. But there's somebody who can collect that accolade for him. His son, Victor B.B., who is the principal of St. Finbar's College today. Yeah. So shout out to that family. Yeah.
Wow.
You know.
God bless you, sir.
Accolades for our teachers, but we must pay teachers very well.
Yeah.
So that brilliant people don't leave that profession and go and look for something else. There are people who want to teach. It is their passion. But if you don't pay them well, they will take their talent elsewhere. So we must ensure that over time, the teachers' salaries are reviewed so that teachers can live in comfort, not directing them to go elsewhere to get their reward. Here, in fact, the story that came out after that award ceremony, when teachers got their rewards on earth. This is the newspapers.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, the typical example for me will always be the fact that when you see that advert that says only those who can teach, And that's always the situation. If you can teach and you love teaching, it has to be a thing of passion for you because you want to see lives change. And that's the essence of being a teacher. You want to change lives. You want to impact lives. You want to make people do the things that will improve them and make them much better. So, and that's why we should celebrate teachers.
Okay,
there should be special award.
Anything on the foreign scene?
Yes.
Quickly, because we have to go now.
Let's quickly look at the foreign newspapers. Of course, the Daily Telegraph. Starmer will not bring HS2 back to life. Manifesto commitment broken as Labour leader rolls out work on second phase. Even Labour, I thought they were going to catch in on that, but Saka Starmer is saying that no, they are not also going to bring back that
HS2.
Yeah, the
HS2. Because who's going to pay for it?
The Washington Post newspaper is reporting border barriers get new urgency. Legal waivers will hasten the work. Venezuela deportations also resume amid surge. President Joe Biden said no, never to building walls. That was the passion and the dream and the program of former President, of course, Donald Trump. But now, with the surge of migrants crossing the U.S. border, President Biden has done a U-turn. Borders will be built, of course, drawing from the funds already allocated from the Trump era.
Yeah. I mean, net migration is a big problem in America, and every leader tries as much as possible to reduce the level of...
I was just going to quickly mention before we go, the migration issue is a big one in America. I was in New York at UNGA recently. If you see the streets of New York, with the number of people from Latin America on the street, sleeping on the street in New York, on Broadway, it's unbelievable. Anybody who's American will be one.